On the morning of the 13th of November, they predict that we'll get our first hard freeze. So I'll give you one last walk around in the garden, and then we'll do a harvest. We have quite a few pepper plants left, and one tomato plant that has 3 other types of tomatoes grafted onto it. Along with harvesting our tomatoes and peppers that we have left, I also need to finish covering up my banana plants. What you're looking at here are Musa Basjoo bananas that are trying to grow back after I cut them down. There are a few mammoth red mango beets that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with yet, and one elephant garlic. Over by the storm shelter we have an Ahi pineapple, a courbaki, and an Ahi lemon drop. Those Ahi peppers work pretty well as a ground cover. We also have some back behind the shed, and usually I have to do a little weed eating, weed pulling, or mowing back there, but not this year. I'm still collecting some peppers from some of our pepper projects. This is one of the purple flash hybrids. This is a black pearl hybrid, and the F2 generation produced some pretty interesting variations. This is also a purple flash hybrid. Even though the plant has no purple at all, the peppers show some striping in purple. I have some F3 versions of this pepper plant growing indoors right now. I even saved seeds from this Oda plant that has some variegated leaves on it, and I have some of those growing indoors. I cut the fennel plants down. They were about 6 to 7 feet tall, and those come back every year. I just mulched them with a little straw. Right now I'm doing a lot of cleanup work, and this is just one of the many jobs that I have to do, along with pulling out the plants. I'm not going to show you all the peppers that I'm going to harvest on this day, but this is a look at the Chinese 5-color, and this is just a handful of the varied colors. I had about 5 unripe mega gold peppers, so I went ahead and harvested those. Those did extremely well last year, and they did okay this year, but not quite as well. There were about half a dozen small peppers left on the blot pepper, and that's one that I think I'll grow again next year. I kind of like that one. Right next to the blot pepper plant was the Rawia pepper, and it also had some unripe peppers that were ready. While I was out looking for peppers, I ran across a couple of random carrots that were out there, so I went ahead and pulled them. And if you've never grown carrots before, when the weather gets cold, the carrots get sweeter. Here's a look at some of the leaves from that black pearl hybrid that I grew out in the main garden, and a couple of the peppers from it. They start out very dark and then turn red. Next were a few Cubanelle peppers. Next are the Heritage Big Jim chili peppers, and last year those got quite a bit larger than they did this year, but that's probably my fault. We had one Oda pepper plant that was out in the main garden, and we had a few peppers that were still left on it. Those are always very productive for us. And then I also found one more carrot. Here's one branch from that courbaki pepper that was out by the storm shelter. I don't really care for the green ones. They turn orange, and then finally when fully ripe they're red, and that's when they taste the best. Here are some Ahi Pineapple Peppers that were out by the storm shelter. Then I harvested some Ahi Lemon Drop Peppers and some Ahi Mango Peppers. I emptied the rest of the stuff in my other basket, and then I harvested the Ahi Rico Peppers that were ripe. That one has been extremely productive this year. I really like those a lot. I went ahead and pulled up our last remaining tomato plant. This one is a Sun Gold cherry tomato that I grafted 3 different dwarf type tomatoes onto. The dwarfs that I grafted onto this plant were Lemon Ice, Kookaburra Cackle, and Purple Heart. There were lots of green tomatoes still left, a few that were a little overripe, and some that were just starting to ripen. These are all of the larger tomatoes that I pulled from that plant, and I didn't even mess with the smaller ones. I'm guessing there were probably 3 or 4 dozen very small tomatoes, and that's not counting the cherry tomatoes. And this is what our garden looks like now. I've done a lot of work already, but I still have lots to do. I've shot hundreds of videos this year out in the garden, and I'll be putting those clips together into videos soon. I wish I could have gotten more of them done during the summer, but sometimes life has a tendency to make my schedule for me. I think we had a pretty good year overall, and I feel really blessed. I hope you've had a good season in your garden too, and let us know how it went. We'll see you next time.